There has been a lot of discourse in the Yu-Gi-Oh community about how expensive Yu-Gi-Oh is becoming. So I thought it was my responsibility to show you can play Yu-Gi-Oh on a budget, and this is coming from a man whose biggest expense every month is probably Greg's. So, in today's video, what we're going to do is I'm going to talk about Dinosaurs. Dinosaurs is a deck that has been fringe playable since the structure deck came out in 2017, and the deck has just been slowly getting more and more support every year. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give you a brief outline of the list, why I'm playing what I'm playing, and then I'm going to show you 4 combos. So I have built this list with budget in mind. That is why we are not playing cards like Ground Xeno and the Xeno Meteorus. While Xeno Meteorus isn't a lot of money, Ground Xeno is about £30 each copy. So I think that's a little bit too much for you to be spending on a dinosaur list. You'll notice in the extra deck there are no cards like SP and no cards like Typhon because those cards are too expensive. But obviously if you own those cards, it does just make the deck a little bit better. So let's get into the list. So we're playing free Soul Eating Oviraptor. This card on summon allows you to either add a dinosaur or send one to the graveyard, and as a second effect it can target a level 4 or lower dinosaur on the field, destroy it, and then special summon a dinosaur monster from the graveyard. It can target a dinosaur monster on the field, either on your field or your opponent's field, which comes up with the field spell. The next card, Scrap Raptor. You can target one monster you control, destroy it, and you get an extra normal summon of a scrap monster this turn. And if this card is destroyed by the effect of a scrap card and sent to the graveyard, you can add either Scrap Factory or a non-tuner scrap monster from your deck. That's Scrap Chimera. Next, Baby Ceratosaurus and Petite Pteranodon essentially do the same thing. If these cards are destroyed by card effect and sent to the graveyard, Baby Ceratosaurus will allow you to special summon a level 4 or lower dinosaur monster from the deck, and Petite will summon a level 4 or higher. So these essentially do the exact same thing, and the whole deck revolves around how many times can I destroy this baby. Next is, always get this wrong, Animadored Archosaur, which is a level 1. On summon, it allows you to destroy a dinosaur monster on the field or in your hands, and either adds a reptile, sea serpent, or winged beast with the same level. We don't do that because you could also add an evolutionary pill spell card, which we are playing 2 of in double evolution builds. This allows you to destroy your babies and search for powerful spells. Next card is Dino-Wrestler Pancratops, which I'm sure you're all aware of what it does, but in case you're not, this is a going second staple, and it is searchable and accessible through our babies in this deck. Essentially, if your opponent controls more monsters, you can special summon it, and as a quick effect, it contributes itself to pop a card on the field your opponent controls, which is really good. The next card is Ultimate Conductor Tyranno, which is essentially our boss monster. He's really big, 35 and 32 respectively, cannot be normal summoned or set, and he must first be special summoned by banishing 2 dinosaur monsters from your graveyard, and once per turn during the main phase, you can destroy 1 monster in your hand or field, and if you do, change all face-up monsters your opponent controls to face-down defense position. This card can attack all monsters your opponent controls once each, and at the start of the damage step, if it attacks a defense position monster, you can inflict 1,000 damage to your opponent and send it to the graveyard. So a bunch of power flex on this guy, really easy to get out because he can summon himself by his own effect, or we can summon him with Pill. Next is a new card. This is Kaito Terror. So the first effect doesn't really matter. It makes your opponent can't attack it unless they control wins or something. Who cares? But the effects we care about is during the main phase, you can add Polymerization from your deck to your hand, which allows us to go into the new fusion monster. We'll talk about in a bit. And if this card is banished, you can special summon it, and then you can add Polymerization from your graveyard to your hand. So this is essentially a better Giant Rex, which came out in Maze of Millennia, which as of recording was yesterday. And yeah, really good card. Next is Miscellaneousaurus, the meme card. Essentially, as a hand trap effect during the main phase, you can discard it, and your dinosaur monsters are unaffected by activated effects during that main phase. And while it's in the graveyard, you can banish itself and any other number of dinosaur monsters to special summon a dinosaur from the deck whose level equals a number banished. So if you just banish himself, you can summon a 1. If you banish him and another 1, you can summon a level 2, etc., etc. Non-dinosaurs, we are playing True King Lithosagem the Disaster. This can destroy 2 monsters in your hand or field, including at least 1 Earth to special summon it. If you destroy 2 Earths, you get to look at your opponent's extra deck and banish 3 monsters with different names from their extra deck. So obviously, this will allow us to destroy our babies, special summon it, potentially rip through their extra deck, and then we just have a body as well for link material. Next is Scrap Chimera. This is our search target of Scrap Raptor. On normal summon, you can special summon a Scrap Tuner in your graveyard, which is pretty good because that's what Scrap Raptor is. It can't be used as synchro material for anything but a scrap monster, and the other materials must be scraps if you do that. We're essentially using this for either rank 4 fodder for cards like Abyss Dweller, or we're using it as link material for something like an Appaloosa, which we'll get to in a bit. 3 copies of Ash Blossom and 3 copies of Joy Lockbird. This is a budget deck, and you can actually pick these cards up really cheap right now, because Ash Blossom was obviously in the most recent Rarity Collection set, and is now going for about £4 to £5 per copy at the lowest rarities, and control on Lockbird is like £1 or £2 because this card has been reprinted so many times. So you could probably pick up all 6 of these for close to like 15-20 quid, which is really good. Fossil Dig. This allows you to add a level 6 or lower dinosaur monster from your deck to your hand. You'll notice there's no once per turn clause on this, which means if you open multiples, you can just search multiple times, which is really, really good. Lost World. Probably one of the most important cards in the deck, and it has quite a bit of text, so I'm going to take a little bit more time on this card. So all monsters on the field lose 500 attack and defense, except for dinosaur monsters. Already a pretty decent effect. Once per turn, if a dinosaur monster is normal or specialed, except during the damage step, you can special a drag token to your opponent's field, who is a dinosaur, and while your opponent controls a token, they cannot target monsters on the field with card effects except for tokens. Once per turn, if a normal monster on the field would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can destroy that many dinosaur monsters in your hand and or deck instead. This means if we give our opponent a token, we can attempt to destroy it with any of our effects. We can then use Lost World to protect the token so it doesn't be destroyed, and then we can destroy a baby Ceratosaurus in our deck instead, which will of course then float into a monster of our choice. So very powerful effects. This works really well with Oviraptor, since Oviraptor can destroy a dinosaur monster on either side of the field. So if we activate Lost World, normal desoldating Oviraptor will summon a token to their field. We can then use Oviraptor's effect to destroy that token to summon one from our graveyard, but protect with the Lost World, destroying a baby Ceratosaurus to get to another monster from the deck. We'll see that in action in the combos in a moment. Next, Double Evolution Pill. This allows you to banish a dinosaur and a non-dinosaur monster from either your hand and or graveyard, and special summon a level 7 or higher dinosaur monster from your hand or deck, ignoring its summoning conditions, which means we can summon UCT from the deck or Pank from the deck, which is really, really cool. Next, Dragonic Diagram. This is our searcher for the Lithosagem, and it is searchable in Engine. This essentially allows you to destroy one other card you control in your hand to search for Lithosagem. So you can go Diagram, pop Baby, search the Lithosagem, and then Baby can summon a baby, and then you have a baby for your Lithosagem, which is really cool. Terraforming either allows you to search for the Diagram or for the Lost World, which is really good. Polarization, our search target off of the Kaito Terra. Call by the Grave and Foolish Burial. Foolish Burial can send a Miscellaneousaurus, which can get you to your Archosaur, which sometimes is enough for you to combo. We'll talk about the extra deck next. One Link Rebel, one Secure Gardener. This is because the Archosaur is obviously what searches our Double Evolution Pill, and it needs to banish a non-dinosaur monster. So if we can resolve Archosaur, we can turn the Archosaur into a Link Rebel and then into a Secure Gardener, and then we can banish the Archosaur and the Link Rebel to fulfill the cost of Double Evolution Pill to summon a UCT. That is in hands which are really bad, but it's worth playing just in case you get hand traps to the ground. Next, one copy of Nightmare Cerberus. The only Nightmare we're playing, and this is mostly because there are some hands, especially when you get hand traps, where making a Nightmare Cerberus to target a Lost World token can just allow you to extend through a board and either OTK your opponent or build up some negations of your own. One Scrap Thryvern. This, when it is as an ignition effect, can target a scrap in your graveyard, special summon it, and then destroy a card you control. So you could hypothetically destroy your babies with this. And also, if another face-up scrap monster is destroyed by card effect, you can summon a scrap from the deck and then destroy a card on the field. So this means you can Scrap Wyvern, summon back a Scrap Raptor, and then pop the Scrap Raptor you summoned. And then because you destroyed a Scrap Wyvern's just going to summon another Scrap from the deck, and then you could use the Scrap Wyvern to destroy a card your opponent controls, which is really cool. One Pentasnag. Against the monster, it points to Piercing. So if you put this on an Ultimate Conductor Tyranno, after you've used its effect to flip everything face down, you're going in for big damage without having to worry about cards' effects. One Nightmare Unicorn, its removal. One Appaloosa and one Access Code Talker. You might be wondering why these are in a budget deck profile, and honestly, they're not the most expensive right now. Appaloosa's around £10, and I think Access Code for a gold version is around $20, $25. I could be wrong on that. But as of today, these cards have been officially announced to be in Rarity Collection 2, which is coming out in May. So even if you can't afford these cards or don't have these cards yet, in 3 or 4 months' time, you will definitely be able to afford these, which is fantastic. So yeah, this deck gets even cheaper in a few months' time, which is amazing. But Appaloosa, obviously, negates, Access Code Talker, destroy your opponent's cards, and get in for damage. Really, really good. A Hornsaurus is another new card. This is a fusion monster. You have to make it with Kaito Terra, which is the one that searches polymerization, and either a dinosaur or a dragon monster. It can attack directly the turn it is special summoned, which is good for time reasons, and you can only use each of the following effects once per turn. If this card is fusion summoned, you can place a field spell from your deck or graveyard face up in your field zone. This allows you to get to Dragonic Diagram, and also to your Lost World, which is really strong. The last effect is during your main phase, you can immediately after this effect resolves, normal summon a dinosaur or dragon monster, which is also really, really good. It doesn't come up with any of the combos I'm going to show you, but I imagine in actual test hands and actual game scenarios, it definitely will. So this is a really, really good card. Next, we're playing a Savage Dragon. We're playing tuners, so we can get into this, and we are playing links, so we can actually attach to it, and it is just an Omni-Negate. One side frame Lord Omega. This is less here for the hand rip effect. While that is still good, it also allows us to use the effect in the standby phase to put Miscellaneousaurus back in our graveyard, which means in games we know that are going to go for a long time because both decks have a bit of a grind to them. Using Omega to put back a Miscellaneousaurus for guaranteed follow-up is a very good thing to be able to do. One Baron de Fleur, also obviously an Omni-Negate, and we can make this with the Scrap Raptor since it's a tuner, and the Fusion is a level 6, so those perfectly add up to 10, so we're playing the Baron de Fleur. One Largia, this is Judgment. One Dolka, this is 2 monster negates in a rank 4, and Abyss Dweller, which obviously locks our opponent out of the graveyard. We'll quickly go over the cards I've got in the side deck. These are cards that we are not playing, but you definitely could do if you have them or you want to try them out. So Dogoron is a card I would definitely side in Dinosaurs because it's obviously a kaiju, but it is a dinosaur, which means it is searchable off of our Soul-Eating Oviraptor, which means in the penalty matchup, if they don't have an Ash Blossom or an Imperm for the Oviraptor, or if we have access to our Miscellaneousaurus, we can normal Ovi, search for a Dogoran, and we're immediately clearing the Noir, which is fantastic. Grown Xeno I touched on. This allows you to add a Dinosaur Tuner or a Dinosaur Normal monster from your deck to your hand and destroy a card in your hand. It's a fantastic card, but in this list I try to be as budget as possible, and this card costs £30-35, so that's why we're not playing it. And if you're not playing Ground Xeno, you probably don't want to play Xeno Meteorus. Fenrir is definitely a card you can play if you own them. Not only is it a good going second card in the same way that Pank is, but it does search another copy of itself, which gives you food for double evolution pill. Cheng Ying is a card you could definitely put into the extra deck. It could probably go in for the Omega if you're not too worried about the follow-up. It's a fantastic card, and we have plenty of ways of proccing the banish effect with cards like Miscellaneousaurus and Double Evolution Pill. So yeah, certainly a card you definitely could play, and it's a 10, so you can make it just as easy as you can. Baron. Dragostapelia, Garura, and Muddragon are here for Super Poly, which is certainly a card you could opt to play, and I think will be very good next format. You certainly could find the space for it by taking out cards like Access Code Torga, Pentastag, and the Nightmare Cerberus. Just stick these 3 in, and you have Super Poly targets for pretty much every deck in the format. And you could also kind of make the Dragostapelia with the Poly, since you do add the Poly back when you summon the Terra back off of the Double Evolution Pill. So you can even add Dragostapelia to your end board if you want a form of targeted negation. Scarlight probably would side this as well. It's a very easy card to make, especially in time scenarios. I don't think it's worthy of having a spot in the extra deck. I would probably side it, but if you can find the space, play it. It does 500 damage and it wins games in time. Duel Academy is a funny card. So since we now have the Fusion monster, which can access us to any field spell, we can get to Duel Academy. Now this card has different effects based on what monsters you have on the field. If you have Warrior, Beast, or Pyro, if you activate a trap, you get to target a card your opponent controls and destroy it. Dinosaur, Sea Serpent, or Thunder. If you activate a spell card, you can inflict 1,000 damage. And Machine Fairy or Fiend, you can, if you activate a monster effect, you can target a face-up monster you control against a 1,000 attack. An end board that you often end on in this deck is Baron de Fleur, plus Appaloosa, plus Ultimate Conductor Tyranno, which you'll notice is a Warrior for the first effect, a Dinosaur for the second effect, and a Fairy for the third effect. So you can hypothetically activate all 3 of these effects in one turn. And the Fairy one is especially funny with Appaloosa, since you target the Appaloosa and it gains 1,000 attack, so it gains an extra negate, which is really funny. And the pop of a trap is really good, but we don't really have any traps. You could play Imperm to try and proc this effect. This is just a funny card that you could try. Right, that is everything I want to talk about in this list. I would estimate that this deck, as is, with current printings of cards, is probably about £100, would be my estimate. I haven't checked all the cards, but I know that in Wild Survivors we have all the dinosaurs except for the Scrap Raptors and the Pancratopses. The Panks cost about £3 for 2. The Raptors are about £2 for 3. Chimera's nothing. Lithosagram's nothing. Diagram's about £5. These, I think I said, cost about £15 for 6. And then really it's just the extra deck. And I mean, Savage, Baron, Omega have been reprinted to Oblivion. Largia and Dolka have had the same treatment. So all these cards are really cheap. It's just the Appaloosa and the Access Code, which are getting reprinted in May, which kind of bumps the price up a little bit. Right, let's get into some combos, shall we? So we're going to start with Soul Eating Oviraptor and Baby Ceratosaurus. So we are going to start by normal summoning our Oviraptor and activating the effect to search for a copy of Miscellaneousaurus. We're then going to use the Miscellaneousaurus effect, discarding it, and then using the effect in the graveyard, banishing itself to summon a level 1 from the deck. This is going to be the Archosaur, who's going to trigger his effect to destroy the Baby Ceratosaurus in hand to add a copy of Double Evolution Pill. This is going to trigger our baby, since it was destroyed, to special summon another baby from the deck. From here, we can use Oviraptor's second effect to destroy the baby to special summon the other baby from our graveyard, triggering the first baby to special summon a Scrap Raptor from the deck. From here, we can use Scrap Raptor's effect to destroy the Baby Ceratosaurus and trigger that baby to summon a Kaito-Terra. This is going to trigger our Kaito-Terra to search a Polymerization. From here, we can use Polymerization to go into the Fusion, and we could use his effect to search for a copy of Lost World. From here, we can use the Oviraptor and the Scrap Raptor to go into a copy of Scrap Wyvern, and trigger the Scrap Wyvern to special summon back the Scrap Raptor and then immediately destroy it, which is going to allow us to trigger the Scrap Wyvern since a Scrap was destroyed, the Scrap Raptor since he was destroyed to search for a Scrap non-tuner, and the Lost World since a Dinosaur monster was summoned while it was on the field to special summon a token. So resolving backwards, we're going to give our opponent a token. We are then going to search for our Scrap Chimera, and then we're going to use the Wyvern effect to special summon a Raptor from the deck, and then attempt to destroy the token on our opponent's side of the field. But we're going to use the Lost World effect to protect it, and send a Petite Pteranodon from the deck to the graveyard as a destruction, which of course is going to trigger our Petite Pteranodon to special summon a Soul Eating Oviraptor from the deck. From here, we can use the Scrap Raptor and the Hornsaurus to go into a copy of Baron de Fleur, and then we can normal summon our Scrap Chimera to special summon out this Scrap Raptor, since we got the additional normal summon from the Scrap Raptor effect earlier, popping a Baby Ceratosaurus. From here, we could use the Oviraptor, the Wyvern, and the Chimera to go into a copy of Appaloosa, and then we can use the Double Evolution Pill to banish the Chimera and the Terra to special summon a Ultimate Conductor Tyranno from the deck. This will trigger our Terra in our Banish Zone to special summon itself back and add the Poly from the graveyard to our hands. And what do you know, we have 2 dinosaurs in our field, so we can summon a Largia. You don't have to summon Largia here. You could summon a copy of Dulka, or you could summon a copy of Abyss Dweller, or you could even go for a Borrello Savage Dragon, since we do have the Scrap Chimera in our graveyard. But that is the end of this combo. Oh, sorry, you could also make Omega to put the Miscellaneousaurus back. So that's the end of this combo, and just on the right hand side we're talking about what this is. This is 3 monster negates, Book of Eclipse from our Ultimate Conductor Tyranno, a Judgment from the Largia, an Omni negate from the Baron de Fleur, and we have evenly, Lightning Storm, and targeting protection, since they can't activate evenly or Lightning Storm since they control a face-up card, and they can't target our cards because they control token, and they can only control tokens, which this is a pretty good board for 2 cards. The next combo is going to be another Oviraptor combo, and this is going to be Oviraptor plus Lost World. So we are going to start by activating our Lost World and normal summoning our Oviraptor. This is going to trigger Lost World to give our opponent a token, and our Oviraptor search for a copy of Miscellaneousaurus. From here, we'll use Misk's effect, discarding it, and then we'll use the Oviraptor's effect to attempt to destroy our opponent's token, but use the Lost World to protect it, to destroy a Baby Ceratosaurus in our deck. From here, we can use Baby's effect to summon a baby from the deck. From here, we can use the Miscellaneousaurus to banish itself to special summon a copy of Archosaur from the deck, and then use Archosaur's effect to destroy the Baby Ceratosaurus, which will add a Double Evolution Pill, and then trigger the Baby Ceratosaurus to special summon another dinosaur from the deck. In this case, it's going to be the Scrap Raptor. From here, we can link off our Archosaur for a copy of Linkuriboh, and then our Scrap Raptor and our Linkuriboh for a copy of Scrap Wyvern, which will allow us to use the Scrap Wyvern to special summon the Scrap Raptor, and then destroy our copy of Lost World. We can then use the Scrap Raptor to pop itself, which will trigger both the Raptor and the Wyvern, which will allow us to add a copy of Scrap Chimera and special summon another copy of Raptor from the deck, and then we can destroy this token on our opponent's side of the field. From here, we can normal summon the Scrap Chimera and special summon back this copy of Raptor, and then we can use the Wyvern, Raptor, and the Chimera to go into a copy of Appaloosa, and then we can turn our Oviraptor and our Raptor into a Largia, a Dulka, or a Savage Dragon, whatever we want to go into, and then we can activate the Double Evolution Pill, banishing the Linkuriboh and the Raptor in our graveyard to go for our UCT. So this end board is 3 monster negates, an Omni negates, and a Book of Eclipse, which is still a pretty nice board. The next combo isn't going to include Soul Eating Oviraptor, and it's going to be the Scrap Raptor and a Lost World. So we're going to start by activating our Lost World and normal summoning Scrap Raptor this time. This is going to trigger the Field spell to summon a token, and then we're going to use Raptor popping itself to get the extra normal summon, and then the Raptor on being destroyed to add a copy of Scrap Chimera from deck to hand. We'll use the additional normal on our Scrap Chimera, and we'll use the effect to special summon back the Scrap Raptor, and then go into the Scrap Wyvern in our extra deck. From here, we can use the Wyvern to summon the Raptor, and then destroy the Raptor, which will trigger the Scrap Wyvern effect to special summon a Raptor from the deck, which will then use the other effect of Wyvern to pop the token, but of course we will protect it with the Lost World, which will allow us to destroy a baby in deck to summon a Soul-Eating Oviraptor. These combos are very difficult to say. From here, we will use the Soul-Eating Oviraptor effect to search for a copy of Miscellaneousaurus. From here, we'll use the Misc effect, discarding it, and then the Misc effect in graveyard, banishing itself and the Raptor to summon a Baby Ceratosaurus. From here, we can use Oviraptor's second effect to destroy the Baby Ceratosaurus to summon another Baby Ceratosaurus from our graveyards, and then trigger the first one to special summon a copy of Archosaur. From here, we can use Archosaur to pop the baby and add a copy of Double Evolution Pill, which will of course trigger our baby again to special summon a copy of Terror from the deck, which will allow us to search for a copy of Polymerization. From here, we will use the Polymerization using the Archosaur and the Terror to go into our Hornsaurus, which will allow us to use the effect to get rid of Lost World and place another copy of Lost World. We're doing this because there's actually no hard ones per turn clause on Lost World, so if you put a second copy onto the board, if you summon another dinosaur, you can give them another token, and if you destroy that token, you can protect it again and destroy another baby, which is absolutely insane. So that's essentially what we're going to do here. We're going to use the Hornsaurus and the Scrap Raptor to go into a copy of Baron de Fleur. And then we're going to Double Evolution Pill, banishing the Chimera and the Terror to summon a Ultimate Conductor Tyranno. From here, the Terror is going to trigger and the Lost World is going to trigger since a dinosaur was summoned. We're going to give them another token, and then we're going to use the Terror to special summon itself and add the Polymerization back. From here, we are going to use the Terror, the Wyvern, and the Oviraptor to go into a copy of Appaloosa with 3 materials. And then we can use the Baron de Fleur to attempt to pop the token, protect it with a Lost World, destroying a Petite Pteranodon, and special summoning a Pancratops from the deck, which is another form of interruption. So that is the end board, and what we have is we have an Omni Negate, 3 Monster Negates, Book of Eclipse, and a targeted pop. But this targeted pop can also be follow-up, since we could use it on the tokens at our opponent's turn, protect with a Lost World to destroy another Petite Pteranodon or Baby Ceratosaurus from our deck, to special summon an Oviraptor to get his search for follow-up in the next turn, which is also really quite good. It's a pretty decent board, again, for 2 cards, especially for how much this deck would cost you to play. The next combo is going to be Archosaur plus a baby, in this case Petite Pteranodon, just to show you can do it with the worst of the 2 babies. So we are going to start by normal summoning our Archosaur and using the effect to pop the Petite Pteranodon and search for a Double Evolution Pill. This is going to trigger our Petite to special summon an Oviraptor from the deck, and we can use Oviraptor to add a copy of Miscellaneousaurus. From here, we're going to use the Archosaur to go into a Linkuriboh, and then use the Miscellaneousaurus, discarding it to get it to the graveyard so we can banish itself and the Archosaur to summon a baby. From here, we can use Oviraptor's second effect to destroy the baby and revive the Petite. This will of course trigger the Baby Ceratosaurus to special summon from the deck, so we're going to summon a Scrap Raptor. From here, we'll use Raptor's effect to destroy the Petite, and Petite's effect to special summon the Terror, which of course will search us for a copy of Polymerization. From here, we could use Poly to fuse together the Oviraptor and the Terror to go for Hornsaurus once again, and use the effect to place a copy of Lost World. From here, we could use the Raptor and the Linkuriboh to go for a Scrap Wyvern, and the Scrap Wyvern to bring back the Raptor, and pop the Raptor, which will trigger both the Raptor, the Wyvern, and the Lost World. Rolling a dice because I didn't click the token button, special summoning a token to our opponent's side of the field, adding a Scrap Chimera, and special summoning a Raptor, and then attempting to pop this token. This will trigger the Lost World to send a Baby Ceratosaurus by destruction, and the Baby Ceratosaurus will trigger to summon another Scrap Raptor. Essentially, we just want another body. We'll then use the Scrap Raptor and the Hornsaurus to go for a copy of Baron de Fleur, and then we will normal summon the Scrap Chimera, special summoning back the Scrap Raptor, and using all of them to go into a copy of Appaloosa. But we're not quite finished here, because we do still have that Terror in graveyard, so we use Double Evolution Pill, banishing it and the Linkuriboh to summon a Ultimate Conductor Tyranno, and then triggering the Terror to special summon itself back. From here, we can use the Terror and the Scrap Raptor to go for either a Lagia, a Dolka, a Savage, an Omega, whatever you want to end your board on. I opt for Lagia because it has the most versatility, being able to negate summons, spells, and traps. But completely up to you, and depending if you know what your opponent's on. So yeah, that is the end of this combo, and the end of the final combo. Again, this Polymerization should be back to hand. And yeah, this is a really good board. happy with these combos, and this deck is really cheap. So if you are looking for a cheap way to play Yu-Gi-Oh right now, I would probably go for this one. And it gets even cheaper in May when Appaloosa and Access Code Talker are available in Rarity Collection 2. So if you enjoyed the video and you found it helpful, I really would appreciate it if you could leave a like and subscribe to the channel. We'll make sure to do more content like this in the future, and I will see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.